Welcome back to Learn SKN, and today we're going to continue looking at the May-June 2021 Economics Paper 2. So that's the May-June 2021 Econ Paper 2. So we would have completed question 1 before, and so we're going to jump right into question number 2. But before we do that, remember to like, subscribe, and share the channel with friends, families, so that we can grow the community. And a quick shout out to anybody who sent out papers that we can do. Much appreciated. And we'll see how best we can accommodate those papers on the channel in the days to come. Alright, so let's just jump right into it as I said before. Number 2A. Define each of the following terms. So you have capital, you have entrepreneurial talent. So these are the factors of production. 2 factors of production. Capital and entrepreneurial talent. And so, of course, our trusted textbook has definitions right here. They have a whole chapter dedicated to, chapter 3 dedicated to factors of production. And so, capital. Capital in the economic context refers to goods used to produce more goods. These goods are not wanted for their own sake, but rather to help in the production of other goods and services. So what they're saying here is that capital as a factor of production is any resource, any man-made resource that is used in production. That's as simple as I can put it. Any man-made resource that can be used into production. So to produce goods and services. So, you know, land would be the natural resources that are used in production. So, you know, you have your ocean, your river, your farm, your mine, your gold mine, the bauxite mine, whatever. But capital now would be the man-made resources that are used in the production of goods and services, such as machinery, the building, the money, the inventory of raw materials, etc., etc. So that's capital as a factor of production. Then it said entrepreneurial talent. Entrepreneurial talent. And so we know what that is. That is the skill that is used to bring all the other factors of production together to engage in the production of a good or service. So entrepreneurship is now regarded as a separate factor of production. In the past, it might have been considered to be part of labor. The entrepreneur performs 2 functions. First, he or she combines the other 3 factors of production in a profitable manner. Second, the entrepreneur is a factor that bears the risk of production. So here we go. So entrepreneurial talent is that person here, that person who bears the risk to bring all the other factors of production together to engage in the production of a good or service. So the entrepreneurial talent is that skill to bring all the other factors of production together, land, labor, capital, to produce goods or services. And it's also a risk, right? The person who bears the risk to bring them together to engage in the production of goods and services. Not all of us have that kind of talent, so that is why entrepreneurs tend to be a little separate than the average factor of production labor. So that's how you answer that. You get your nice 2 marks for both of them. So you get your 4 marks. B. Identify 2 of the main sectors in an economy. Identify 2 of the main sectors in an economy. And so if you're looking at sectors, we are talking about the private and public sector, right? The private and public sector in the economy. And so that is exactly what we're looking at here, the private and public sector. So the private sector is basically owned and operated by private individuals or groups of private individuals. The public sector is more along the lines of the government. So the government, the state, they are the ones who control the public sector. So once you would have answered that, you get your 2 marks for that particular question. And then we're scrolling down, number 2C. The rent for the factory space of a manufacturing firm is decreasing. Describe how each of the following 4 production costs for firms will be affected. So they said the rent for the factory space of a manufacturing firm is decreasing. Describe how each of the following 4 production costs for the firm will be affected. Okay, good. So we're looking at costs as it relates to production. And so the first one we have here is variable costs. Variable costs. So they're trying to test our knowledge of cost of production, long run, short run, whichever one. Cost of production. And so they're telling us here that the variable cost. So how would, now we have to realize that rent would be considered a fixed cost. Rent is a fixed cost. It normally stays the same over the short run. So rent is considered a fixed cost. But in this case, you see they're saying that this fixed cost is decreasing. So rent is decreasing. Now, variable cost, there will be no change. So the answer for this one, how would describe how each of the following 4 production costs for the firm will be affected. There will be no change in variable costs, because fixed and variable costs, 2 different things. The fixed doesn't really affect the variable. So rent being a fixed cost would not affect the variable. Remember, variable costs are those costs that changes based on the level of production. But whether you produce 10 tons, 5 tons, 11 tons, the cost of rent would remain the same. It's a fixed cost. You don't pay your rent based on the level of production. So variable costs will not be affected because of that main reason. Because variable costs because rent is not a variable cost, it's a fixed cost, and variable costs change based on the level of production. If you're looking at total cost now, total cost will change, because total cost is a combination of fixed and variable costs. And so if the fixed cost is going down and variable cost remains the same, or, well, as I say, it changes, then you would see that the total cost would fall, right? Because that fixed cost is coming down, so therefore overall cost will fall. Total cost will fall, because total cost is variable plus fixed, and if fixed is decreasing, then the total cost would be lower, and so total cost would fall as the fixed cost goes down, which is the form of rent. Average total cost. Again, remember, total cost is a combination of fixed and variable. And so average total cost also will decline as the fixed cost goes down, because, again, total cost is a combination of fixed and variable. Add them together, you get total cost. So if the fixed cost is going down, then the overall cost will go down. And average total cost is formed by dividing the total cost by the amount of output, right? And so you can see the link right there. Average variable cost will be going down. What about marginal cost now? What would happen to marginal cost? Well, marginal cost will not be affected either, because marginal cost is based on your level of output, right? So you find the marginal cost that way. And so you realize that marginal cost would not be impacted because fixed cost does not factor into marginal cost. Marginal cost is about output, production. Remember, it's about the marginal cost is the cost of producing an extra unit of output, an extra unit. So whether you produce an extra or not, rent remains the same. And so marginal cost will not be affected by a change in fixed cost. So the only thing really, the 2 things that are going to be affected, total cost and average total cost. Variable cost doesn't change, marginal cost wouldn't change, because fixed cost does not factor into those 2 costs right there. And of course we have our costs being outlined in chapter 5 of our textbook, right? See right here, total cost equal total fixed cost plus total variable cost. Total variable cost equal total cost minus total fixed cost. So you see all of them affecting, you can see where fixed cost would affect total variable cost and total cost all in all, right? So that is how we will look at that one. And then of course we have marginal cost, which is all about output. Marginal cost is about output in this case. Average cost, total cost divided by output. So if total cost falls, it will change the average total cost, right? So that is how we would answer that particular question. All right, D. In an economics teacher is teaching her students the concept of cost curves. The teacher calculated the costs incurred by a small firm that sold only 5 pairs of shoes in the past week. She finds that the firm's fixed cost is $10 and its variable cost is $50, making the first pair of shoes. So you can see what that for the first unit, that's the total cost, That's what, 60. Using the information provided, draw a clearly labeled diagram to show the fixed, variable, and total cost curves of producing the first pair of shoes. So let us now see how best we can draw this thing using Microsoft Paint. But before we do that, let's just take a quick look at, in the textbook, we have the examples of the diagrams you're looking at. So you have a diagram here, you have the schedule over here, and it's depicting exactly what they want us to do. Just a quick sketch, a quick draft looking like this. That is what we're looking to do, where you see that the $10 being the fixed cost, and that's run across a horizontal line because fixed costs don't change based on output, so it's going to be the same at all levels of output. Then you have your variable costs right there, and then you have your fixed costs, which is your total cost, which is the blue line, and that's normally a combination of the variable and the fixed cost. So the 10 plus whatever this might be, right? The 10 plus what, 12, and that would give us somewhere between where it's supposed to be. All right, so let's just look at what if you can draw something that can resemble what they're asking us for. All right, so old school Paint. Let's just draw the axes. Boom. Then we have a next one here. Kaboom. And then you have to be with me on the draw on the using the pencil tool here. So of course, you know, everything is 0. Then we're gonna put a 10. Let's go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. All right, and then they said that fixed cost is 10. So this one going straight across. Ooh, not that. This one going straight across. $10. That's going straight across. That's fixed cost right there. All right, that's our fixed cost. Let's look at our variable cost. They said 50. Right, so we're gonna start here. Now I'm gonna start at the origin, and we are looking to go basically straight up. Right, so that'll be our variable cost. Yeah, it could be our variable cost. So let's put that as variable cost, total variable cost, and then let's use the next color. Let's use green for our total cost. We're gonna start right there, right? Because you know we would have had the $10 whether to accommodate the fixed cost. So we're gonna go right up here. I always forgot to mention that it's gonna be parallel, of course, because it's a combination of the variable and the fixed, right? What I forgot to do is include 60. Like our 60 would be a little up here. So let's see if we can put 60 up here. Alright, just to show that, you know, when you combine the two, you get 60. Don't laugh at my drawing, that's a rough sketch here. And so this is going to be total cost, right? So if we're starting at our 10, no matter what, it's going to be 10. So we're looking at variable cost being 50. So let's ensure that our variable cost is 50. Let's try and ensure our variable cost is 50. So let's go, come across, come down. Let's see if we can do that one. So let's say this is our variable cost, 50. So if you're coming across, boy, that's not too cool. Let's go, 50, coming across. We're just using this just to highlight exactly what we're talking about. And if you come down, Remember, this is going to be 10 either way. Right, I'm just using these to show how we're graphing it right here. So in essence, we're saying here that our first unit would start right here. Right? Our first unit would start right there to match up the 50 for the variable and the 10 for the fixed cost. Kind of matter what output, fixed cost remains the same. Right? So I'm just drawing these lines just to show how it can be grafted. Right? So that's the output 1. So that's, and then of course up here we would equate to a little 60. Because you know when you combine the two, I'm just showing you how to get there. When you combine the two, you know you are going to have combination right there. So that's a rough thing. Right, it's a rough thing. Alright, so that's how the graph would ideally supposed to look in a sense. Right? Don't mind the colors and everything. That's how it should look if we are doing that particular question. Right? So at 1, you have 50 being the variable cost, 60 when you combine them because 10 plus the 50 give you 60, and so that is what we'll be looking at. Alright, so that's the rough thing, but just keep in mind that this is what we're kind of going for. This overall look that we're kind of going for. So when you're doing the pencil and the drawing, just make sure you draw them nicely. When I get equipment to draw them neater, then I'll do so. Right? So that's it for that question. Alright, so that's it for, there's only 6 easy marks. And so that's it for question number 2 on the May-June 2021 Econ Paper 2. So you know what to do. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share. And also check out some of the other videos we have on the channel. We have our 2020, our 2019, all those papers. And we have some for POB, agriculture science, and a bunch of other subjects. So scroll to the channel, see what you like, and enjoy. Alright, so we're going to stay here for now. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.